You're listening to Cards to the Moon, a podcast about trading cards from both a collector and investor perspective. We hope you'll stick around for the ride as we take a deep dive into the state of the hobby, share some hot takes, hopefully some useful advice, and fun stories along the way. Hey guys, welcome back to Cards to the Moon. This is episode 350. My name is Clark from 5cardguys.com. And you can also find me on Instagram, YouTube, and on Facebook at 5cardguys, all one word. Co-hosting with me, as usual, is Hyung, who is at Cho Hyung. And you can also find him on Instagram and YouTube. Okay, it's another busy week in the hobby with some incredible sales this past week. And I think there's deeper implications of what those sales means to the hobby moving forward. And we're gonna discuss that more in depth in just a bit. But before we do, off the top, Kevin O'Leary, he's back in the hobby news again. And this time it's because he was on Fox and Friends recently, where he announced that he would be unveiling a card, and as presumably that he acquired, which he values at $40 to $50 million. All right. And he added, this is funny, that this card, which he'll unveil on February 27th, I should say that, so mark your calendars. This card will make, quote, grown men weep. Okay. End quote. So any guesses what that card can be?
First off, that's hilarious. I think, I wouldn't expect not having a one-liner from Kevin O'Leary, but I think that just explains his character right on the spot. But I think there's only a few cards that could justify that price point. And to me, I have three guesses. I would say three possible cards.
Okay.
And two of them, I would say wouldn't yet justify $50 million price tag, but that's subjective, obviously. But I think there's only one realistic one that would justify a $50 million standpoint to me.
I think I know.
It would be the T206 Honus Wagner. Highest graded, which is a PSA 8. It's in Ken Kendrick's D-backs collection.
Right.
But I think that would be the holy grail of holy grails. We're talking, the next card would be the PSA 10 Mantle, which is probably what you thought I was going to say.
I thought you were going to say the Mantle PSA 10. Yeah.
So I would say
the fourth one. I
would say either those two. So we know that the 52 Mantle is a Pop 3, and one is owned by Ken Kendricks, and then that PSA 8 is owned by Ken Kendrick, and that's a PSA 8, which is a Pop 1. But here's the kicker, Clark. I'm going to open up a can of rabbit holes.
Okay.
So
I'm intrigued.
So the PSA 8 is known to be altered. Or it's floated out there that this card is not its original. And it's interesting because I think Gretzky and McNally, which is the old owner of the LA Kings, they purchased it, I believe, in 93 or 91. Or there's this backstory to this card. Yes. And it is the first graded PSA card. Right. It has the serial number, technically 000001 or whatever many zeros. So, to me, that would be the only card remotely justifiable saying, okay, this is the most expensive card, period. I think. There's no other card. But here's the thing. Would that kind of affect the value, knowing that it has a history where we have court documents that say that this, and we have the grader that actually graded it that I think verbally might have admitted that the card was altered. So it's does that lose value, or does that even matter at that point? Because it's such a talked about card and such a holy grail that it doesn't matter. And for me, I think it's that card. The second would be the 52 Mantle. And the third would be the PSA 5 version of the T206. So that would be the next highest graded, but it doesn't have the backstory. Because I don't see Ken Kendrick selling any of his cards.
No,
but
I agree.
But you never know with these people, man. They have deals in secret places. It's like, this guy knows this guy. You don't know if they lost the bet. I don't know. Like, it's crazy. But I can't see it. I can't see it being the PSA 5 though. Like Kevin O'Leary is like, no, I want the PSA 8.
Yeah, man, where would he have found it? So that's the thing. If that's the case, right? But yeah, excellent points, especially about the Wagner. The apparently it was trimmed to be more specific, right, to get that PSA 8 condition. But yeah, those were the two I was thinking of as well as a lot of people. If you read the comments on that O'Leary reel, those are the two that come up. There's one more. And I feel like you're going to doubt that it even comes close to the 50 million valuation, which is more modern. And of course, I'm talking about the Stephen Curry, Topps Chrome, Superfractor, rookie, 1 of 1. No chance. No chance at all?
I don't think so. Kevin O'Leary is not a modern card guy. No chance.
What are you talking about? He has the Jordan, LeBron, duel.
Understand. Totally understandable. We're talking $50 million. There's no way that this is a sport play in modern. We're talking generational, illiquid, like not sellable museum collection. And I get it. There's no doubt is it worth $50 million? Very justifiable because superfractors are subjective. But I don't see it at all. It has to be Grail. We're talking the history. Yeah. This is the top sale. Think of that. It's the top sale. It has to be either the Grails, like we're talking, of the whole sports card industry. Can it be the Topps Chrome Superfractor of Steph Curry? At $50 million, I think there's zero chance.
You know what? You're not the only one. I've gotten some comments that say it won't even be half that. So there are people that don't believe in the value of... I mean, it's got such a story behind it too, right? Like, it's been hidden for so long. It's kind of like the Luka Doncic Black Prism 1 of 1. If that pops up, that's going to cause a stir in the hobby. But
10 to 50 million maybe?
I think, what you're saying is it's got to probably be one of the more vintage, more historic, more iconic cards. But at the same time, there's a part of me that Kevin O'Leary, we kind of said at the top, he's a showman, right? I feel like we're going to be disappointed because he's playing it up a lot, the 50 million valuation.
But here's the thing. Here's the thing with Kevin O'Leary. Like, he's so particular on fine arts and quality and scarcity that price really doesn't matter and that's why he truly, truly, truly sees, sports collectible as an asset now. He's totally in. And if you look at his hobbies, and remember, when you have literally exposable or disposable unlimited income, and you look at his hobbies, like wine collecting, like drinking thousands of dollars of bottles of wine as a hobby, and watches. We all know he wears 2 watches. Who wears 2 watches? You know what? To me, I have my own opinion on 2 watches, but to him, he could pull it off because he's Kevin O'Leary and he cares about stuff that I guess is very, very scarce and rare. And that's how he sees kind of like true value over generational moves. So, and I thought about this a lot. If you look at our habits of why we're in the hobby, some people will flip. So a modern card, it's like, oh, I bought this for $5 million and I sold it for $20 million. Amazing. That's what I don't see that. This is not that type of play. This is the type of play where I have the best card in existence. I am number one. And someone like him would try to make that move is what I'm saying. I just don't see it as like I said, it could be gimmicky, but then he loses so much credibility. Like if somebody's like, oh, that's not a $50 million card. I could say that PSA 8 is a $50 million card.
We're going to find out on February 27th. So I'm going to cut this conversation off because our next segment, we're going to talk exactly what you're kind of leading into. Okay, so let's move on right now to hobby headlines. All right, so Hyung, just like you said, O'Leary, or just to add on to what you said, O'Leary went on Fox and Friends after the sale of the Pikachu Illustrator PSA 10 card formerly owned by Logan Paul, sold on auction by Golden for a record-breaking $16.5 million. And I'm going to go more in depth in that sale in particular with Will and Roy, who we'll have on next week. But he was saying how Kevin O'Leary was saying how the collectibles market has now essentially come fully to the forefront for investors like himself. So that raises the question of what's happening to the hobby right now in general, at large, right? And I want to quote a couple of people that really summarizes what seems to be happening really well. So first, Will Stern, he works for collect.com, and he said this on his LinkedIn page, quote, "We are seeing an unprecedented flight to quality in the collectibles market, with more H&W buyers, high net worth buyers, and institutions bidding against each other for the cream of the crop in each category. What remains to be seen is how this will affect the mid-tier of the market," end quote. Okay, and I think one more quote, Jeremy Lee of Sports Card Live and a friend of the podcast, he said, I feel like he said a little better, quote, "One takeaway from the 16.5 million Pokemon Illustrator sold on Golden by Logan Paul: at the lowest dollar levels, people buy what they love. The money doesn't matter. At the highest dollar levels, people buy status, access, and leverage. The money doesn't matter. In the middle, the stakes are real. That's where the money matters, and the comps actually mean something," end quote. So they're kind of saying the same thing here, right? So I don't know where this conversation is going to lead, but let's start with the fact that there are these high net worth buyers and institutions coming into the cards and collectibles market, right? So, and like you're saying, and we've talked about this before on the pod, but I think it's important just to restate our position, because I think we agree on this. Is this good or bad for the hobby?
I would be interested in hearing why it's bad for the hobby, because for me, I think there's a counter argument to every bad, and vice versa. Like you could say, because it all depends on the lens again each individual looks at. Because if you're someone who just likes collecting and the price of hobby boxes are ridiculous because so many people are after the chase and it ruined your hobby, you're going to see this hobby as bad, period. And I can't argue with it. It would suck. If I were in your standpoint and I'm trying to collect my card and I have a budget of whatever it is to build my set and I can't build my set anymore, of course I'm going to throw a temper tantrum. But like I said, every perspective is different, and I don't see any bad in this. Like I see, if anything, it's going to make your assets a lot more value. So yeah, I was saying, I don't think it can be bad for technically the general hobby, because I think a lot of people's, collectability goes hand in hand with kind of like value. Mm-hmm. We all want our collectibles to increase in value, and we enjoy our collection while we watch sports or whatever it is. So I think if anything, it's helping. And what Jeremy Lee said is true, but I would say the stakes are real at every level, right? Mm. And of course, we feel it a lot more because our actions are directly correlated with money. And what they were saying is the reason why they buy it is not because of money. You see what I'm saying? So the stakes are real in the sense that we can't look at it necessarily in the same lens as a Kevin O'Leary, but I think it's directly correlated, because if we play our cards right, we could participate in plays that, we seen before Kevin O'Leary, and it's the same thing. If you ask anybody, and I'll ask you, it's like if you had unlimited money and money wasn't the decision factor, obviously you want to buy at a reasonable price, but money isn't the end all be all. It's more of as if I could land or if I want an iconic card, what would it be? And all it takes is a few guys to have that mindset. That's it. Because the scarcity we're talking about are single digit, right? Assets. Mm-hmm. So for me, right. you blend that into modern collecting. You pull a superfractor of Shohei Ohtani, right? That's massive. And it's only massive because the market says it is. And that's partially thankful to the high-end collector. That's thankful to the people that are flipping, mm-hmm. right? Is it worth that much? We're not here to argue. And I see this in the comments too. They're like, it's a piece of cardboard. It's not worth that much. And it's like, here we go. Let's break down every single thing that doesn't have physical asset attached to it. Yet people are trading it on a daily basis. Whether it's gold, digital gold, we'll even call it. You don't have gold. It's like you're buying and selling on a market. And that's the same thing as sports cards. It's a marketplace. Real estate is the same thing. Whether you buy real estate, you're purchasing and you're selling. So it's the same concept. The only difference is it's right now it's super unregulated, which is an issue. We don't know what type of money's coming in, which we talked about this on the pod. It's like what happens when institutional money comes in on really scarce and high demandable products. And that's exactly what's happening is when you have an unregulated market that has shown thousands, I don't know if it's thousands, hundreds of % of growth over the years, right? Mm-hmm. Of course, the people that were making 5 to 10% on low interest yields, they're going to pull out their money out of that, aka Kevin O'Leary, right? Mm-hmm. And put it into an asset class that is exponentially growing because they're early into the market. And that's all it is. Right. So for me, it's like it's a race to that. If I think that's so bad, am I going to change whether Kevin O'Leary purchases that $50 million card, or can I use that to my advantage, whether it's directly or indirectly correlated to me? I'm looking at it as, whoa, this is the real deal. I would love to have one of those grails one day, right? So, and that's how I feel. If I purchased that PSA 8 and money wasn't a thing, I think that would be an unbelievable investment in terms of generational, wealth.
Yeah. I mean, kind of adding to your point, the way O'Leary speaks about these high-end cards is the same way he talks about fine art, right? He always references Picasso, and he tells people that are interviewing him, imagine if you had a chance to buy a Picasso for $1,000, the yield on that. So it is about money at the end of the day still, because he sees that, this is a store of value, a legitimate store of value now, an alternative asset class that he can invest in, right? So at the end of the day, it is about money. But yeah, I do think that there is a legitimate concern with what both Will Stern and Jeremy Lee was saying, and we kind of touched upon it, which is that how do we think it's going to affect that mid-tier level where most of us as collectors are in right now? We're not at the super high end. We can't relate to the O'Learys and the Shine 150s of the world, but we can afford $1,000 cards, and that's where the mid-tier is. So do you think there's a possibility of, and you kind of alluded to this as well, that we can be priced out, we in general can be priced out of a lot of these products because of the chase of the one of ones or the Ohtani Superfractor, whatever the next one is? Or do you think there will be innovation that takes place in the hobby because of the money that's coming in, so that somehow we can all still participate in the hobby, whatever way it looks? Do you know what I mean? What do you think?
I don't think that should affect our buying habits. You said something that stood out to me is you're priced out. So basically, if you're priced out, what that's telling me is you don't feel like the value's there to justify your purchase. That's all it is. So you wouldn't buy it, correct?
Well, you would have the money to buy something you might want, though, right?
Right. No, but that's what I'm saying. It's like, yeah, some people don't have the money to buy $1,000 card or $5,000. That's fine. The great thing about the hobby is the same principle applies to $50 card. Now, the difference is if I'm in the $50 market and I'm complaining that the hobby's too expensive, but that's what I'm saying. It's like, then what's your next play? Because you could play at every level and win from this and then reinvest into the higher dollar value. So for me, it's always like, yeah, if the play's not there, or let's just say I'm priced out or I don't want to rip, it's because the ROI is not there. And the people that say it's not worth it, maybe it's not smart to rip or smart to do what you're doing because you're getting killed. But we can't justify that's the reason why the hobby sucks. You see what I'm saying? We can't define the hobby because of that. That's a stupid move. That's what some stupid person would do. So therefore, that's the consequence of a stupid action. That's the way I see it. So it's the same way. You would be priced out on a card. It's telling me that, you know what? It's not worth it. Because if, let's just say it was worth it, right? You're 100% sure. Why do you think people like Kevin O'Leary make more money? Is because they think it's worth it. So they're willing to put their money where their mouth is, right? And it's called investing for that reason, right? I mean, isn't it?
No, I hear you. And you know what? I tend to agree with everything you just mentioned. I guess if I'm going to play devil's advocate, honestly, it's not even playing devil's advocate. I could see that the way the hobby's changing, you know, with all this money coming in, I could see the case that where people just, guess what? They don't like the hobby anymore because it's changed. And that's legitimate, right?
Clark, no. We've talked about this since 2018. The hobby sucked. It always sucks in 2018. It sucked in COVID. It sucks in 2022. The hobby's not sustainable. Yet here we are in 2026 saying the same thing. When is it going to stop?
No, I get it. I know. And maybe for those people, I'm saying maybe for those people that they just need to get out of the hobby or enjoy it a different way, right? Because we can't hold on to things the way it used to be forever. I think that's what we're saying, right?
Because I love that, Clark. That's the beauty of this, is everybody has a choice. And it's the funny meme, not to be like negative or anything, but like, you know, it's like you don't have to announce you leaving. If you don't like it, just leave. Like, don't participate. But why? But that's what I'm saying is it's not that. That's my whole point. It's not what people think. Those are emotional responses that they're just mad because they skunked on a hobby box. So it sucks. That's all I'm saying. It's like, that's not a good reason why Kevin O'Leary's not looking at the hobby saying, there's no future to this hobby because, man, when I ripped Bowman and I spent $700, I got $50 on ROI. The hobby's cooked. That's the logic. It's ridiculous.
Yeah. You're gonna rile up some people, but I but I know what you're saying. I'm gonna just counter by saying I can empathize with people that wish the hobby was a certain way and maybe it's changing too quickly for them, so they can't adjust as quick. So I could empathize with them, but the reality is kind of what you're saying, right? The hobby is changing, period. And so you have to adjust with it, and you can't always live in the past, hoping and wishing that it will return to what it was. And in a way, this evolution of the hobby, evolution of any industry is always a good thing, because that usually means that it's growing. And if it's growing, more people can enjoy it, even though it might not be the old school hobbyist. Guess what? Newer people coming into the hobby are just as important to the hobby industry than the old school collectors. We've already seen that evolution in person at card shows. If the card shows, you kind of mentioned in our last pod, if they were the same in church basements or in old ratty gyms today, guess what? It would not grow. The people would not be interested in joining the hobby. But the fact that we have something like Fanatics Fest, which is a high production event and has introduced the hobby to more people, that's important, right? The Sport Card Expo, forcing them to really level up. That's a good thing. So I think all these things contribute to the healthy growth of the hobby. Of course, there's going to be adjustments made even during that growth. There are going to be things that we even don't like. And I think the more people that don't like a certain part of the hobby, guess what? The hobby will adjust to that too, because at the end of the day, money talks. And if you're losing money in the hobby, especially these big industry players, they don't want to lose money, right? So and one last thing I'll say too, like I think there's a concern that, about this whole idea of being priced out, not being able to buy hobby boxes. I think that's more of a legitimate concern if you see these high net worth buyers ripping more. But the fact is, more of them are just going for the slabs. They're willing to pay for the hits that are already pulled, And maybe it's downstream that these hobby boxes are going to cost a lot more. But then there's breakers. I know some people don't like it, but that's one way of adjusting. You can't afford a hobby box. I'm going to try breaking. It's like what you're saying. I'm going to try arena slabs. Like maybe I'll like the experience. So just try something new.
Clark. I'm telling you, I'm going back to arena slab. I was such an anti-arena slab. I'm like, this is the biggest rip. Honestly, I have no desire to rip hobby boxes anymore, even on releases, unless it's like a really big release, and you get your hands on one. But the reality is, if you're truly looking for ROI, I think something like arena slab or even breaking might be better than ripping a box. But like I said, some people don't like that either. They prefer a hobby box. And that's the great thing about our hobby. There's good things about it and bad things about it. And I'm not here to always look at the bad things and define our hobby because of these bad things. If anything, I understand that the process of growth, and we're growing really fast as a hobby, you're going to have the most ups and downs. That's just the nature of life and of industries. It exposes bad, right? So for me, it's like you're going to have ugly conversations where if you look at it and say, man, the hobby's doomed because of it, it's not that the case. It's just things that are negative in the hobby will eventually surface up. And the people, the leaders of the hobby will do something to improve it. And that's the evolution of the hobby. And to me, that's a really healthy way of looking at this, especially someone who has to talk about it every week. Think if I hated the hobby and I had to talk about it every single week, Clark. It's like, why am I even talking about it? Like, why am I even here? It's like, why don't I just get stressed about something else? You know what I mean? It's like, why do it on air? But my whole point is, there's ups and downs. I'm not saying that it's all roses and it's all pretty, right? But I'm saying I'm making the best out of it every day. And sometimes I disagree with it. I disagree what Fanatics does. I truly disagree with what PSA does. I think upcharges is the biggest sham. And like I said, I want a rebate. If all the cards I played in upcharge that aren't worth it the same today, I better be getting a rebate for what I originally paid, because if they're making money off market prices, then they should give money back. But that's my own opinion. Am I going to change PSA? Are they going to do it? Probably not. Am I going to hold picket signs saying PSA is the biggest fraud and the hobby is a sham because of one emotional experience that I disagree with? I'm just picking my own battles and controlling the controllables. That's
a good point. Good advice. It's not, sometimes it's just not worth the effort or time, like you were saying. And I was wanted to close on this segment, but we kind of addressed it already, because some of the comments, speaking of negative vibes and feelings, some of the comments that I see more frequently now is, of course, with these high-end sales, this is just another bubble. The market's going to come crashing again soon. But we've kind of addressed that it's just kind of this evolution. And, along with evolution there, and along with the money, I kind of pointed this out earlier too, is that I really do believe there's going to be innovation in the hobby that we don't even know of yet. There's going to be things that are going to be invented that will make the hobby more enjoyable for a lot more people. And I think that's inevitable, because if you want the hobby to survive, you need as many people to enjoy it. You just can't have the O'Learys enjoying it, and then that's not sustainable, and that's not good for him, because if there's only a few people enjoying it, the value of the whole card industry, the collectibles industry, would also come down, because you need it to be sustained by just a lot more people evaluating it in a positive way, right? So I think that's the big picture, just to see that everyone enjoys the hobby and then there's value and worth in that.
No, absolutely. And I think it's tough because, I see all the complaints with Fanatics, and I get it. Even like on their jersey, like the MLB jerseys, the price of jerseys is ridiculous. And I get all that. But if someone's going to move the needle to make the hobby better, it's someone or a brand or a company that has enormous amounts of resources in that space. So for me, the only way you could improve the hobby is by implementing your assets of what you've built. So in Fanatics' case is apparel and collectibles and all this marketplaces, infrastructure, platform. So for me, it's like instead of some small business trying to grow the hobby, you have one of the most innovative / resource-rich players that are coming into this hobby, and they're coming from all aspects. So Kevin O'Leary would be one of them. Totally different than Fanatics' position, but as a high-end collector. So as you see this diverse group of people that are contributing to the growth of the hobby, I think that's what we should be looking at and focusing more, because these guys are the pillars of the future growth of the hobby. And like I said, it's not about moral cop. Obviously, we all have a moral compass of what we truly believe in and what's right and what's wrong. But I'm not gonna necessarily change Kevin O'Leary's mind. You know what I mean? So it's like, okay, how can I use this information now and say, man, I see where the value and what other people value in the hobby and what brands are doing and what brands need to do. So where am I going to be positioned within this whole industry? And that's all it is. And I think I love the hobby more today than when I got back in 2019. And that's someone saying, I look at Ohtani prices. We could have bought Ohtani for $500,000. Am I going to use that as the reason why the hobby sucks today? Is it because I missed out on an opportunity? Realistically, right? That's what we're trying. Right. I'm just trying to define this. Just let's define the two and say, okay, if I'm having a negative experience, which camp am I sitting on? Am I enjoying the hobby or do I hate the hobby? Okay, if I hate the hobby, why do I hate the hobby? And then you realize that it's not really a good reason to hate the hobby, because there's other ways that you could enjoy it. And that's all I'm saying. It's like, I get it. I get the people, the complaints, and we need that, Clark. We need the complaints because that's the only way we'll get to where we need to go as a whole hobby and a whole collectible space is we need the feedback, what sucks, because a lot does suck in the hobby. Yeah.
And kind of adding to that, but just let's not dwell on it for too long. You know what I mean? Don't make it about your whole life. Complaints about something, because there's always going to be something wrong or something that can be done better. And, like you're saying, where do we want to spend ultimately our energy on and our time on, and trying to come up with solutions rather than just coming up with problems, right? So I agree with you wholeheartedly. One more thing, actually, that I want to ask you, and this is more not as controversial, I don't think, but do you think now with the sale of the Pikachu Illustrator, there's a changing of the guard, so to speak, when we talk about the super high-end cards in the hobby? And what I mean by that is, for so long, the top 5 highest sales in terms of value have always been occupied by either Mickey Mantle, the Topps 1952, or the Honus Wagner in varying grades. Top 5, always, those are up there, locked in. But now, I don't know if you've realized, 3 of the top 5 publicly known card sales in history have occurred in the last 6 months. And notably, none of them are Mantle or Wagner, right? They are the Pikachu Illustrator, 16.5 million, O'Leary's Jordan Kobe dual logo man autograph card, that's just under 13. And I believe he also owns the Jordan LeBron dual logo man autograph card, which is around 10-11 million. So do you think we're going to see more modern cards, these like one-of-one, rare, scarce cards, kind of pretty much take over the top 5, unless, we see one of these rare vintage Mano or Wagner show up again?
I think a lot more people are going to cash out on the vintage stuff because I think that price has exploded. Like, this is generational wealth that, if you've been holding, this is kind of like, okay, now it's considering cash out because they're becoming liquid. 10 years ago, you couldn't sell this. Like, you'd have to go auction, obviously. That's the best way. But people aren't looking for it. Now you have a whole, different level of clientele looking at sports memorabilia. So if you're a seller and you've been holding, I think this is the time where you're like thinking of cashing out. So I think we haven't seen, and the only reason why the Pikachu stands out is because we never really seen those type of sales within non-sports cards. We've seen hints of it in the baseball and basketball side, especially the baseball vintage side. But those big grails have never sold. So PSA 10 Mickey Mantle has never sold. We can only assume that that's a $30 to $50 million card, whatever it is. None has sold. So just because it sold, it doesn't mean that the value isn't there, because I think a 30 million liquid is easy nowadays for that 52 Mantle PSA 10, right? So for me, it's like, officially we haven't seen those sales yet, but they're coming. 100% they are coming. And that Pikachu is just a sign of it's happening in other areas because the marketplace now sees it as that. And that's the key part. It is the marketplace. And this is the value justification. Is the value there? I don't know. To me personally, it's not there, or I'm not in play because I don't have a $50 million liquid budget. But to someone that does, all you need is two people to agree that their value's there and they have the money. And that's all it takes in a market that's massive, massive, massive.
Yeah. And I'll just add too, I agree with you. I think once the vintage starts to show up, they'll kind of take over the top 5 highest sales again. And I think the more modern one-of-ones are going to be not as relevant. You know what I mean? Like, people are going to say like another one-of-one, and so that's going to start to devalue some of the existing one-of-ones.
So what you're seeing, Clark, it could be same thing. We could see this all as a boom. It's been a full market correction of what true value is. And I know this sounds insane because it's like, there's no way it's worth that much. But what if it was worth that much? Because even the superfractors that people overpaid, the modern cards, the $4 million, they're going to correct. Maybe they're not 4 million now, or whatever the Trout superfractor was. Maybe the true value now shows as it's a $1 million card. Or now it's a 300,000. So the marketplace is actually correcting over the span of the last 50 years because it was all over the place. It wasn't regulated. It could be worth whatever it was. But now that you have institutional money and you have more serious buyers at the higher end, it's solidifying value from what is the value from a true standpoint. Because you would have to take the highest tier of the marketplace as the cornerstone of value, because they're buying it based on supply demand, and then everything else follows for that. So when Jeremy Lee was talking about, real money in the mid tier, there is a lot of truth to that, because that's what people value, or they use their own money to say this is worth more than what it is. And you get the loss depending on what happens in basketball or baseball. And those are the fundamentals of what happens on a day-to-day basis, right? So for me, it's correcting. The whole marketplace is really correcting, and we're not seeing that true correction yet because maybe the vintage super rare are still undervalued, right? Why else would Kevin O'Leary say that at 50 million? The only reason why someone would purchase that is because it's that scarce and it's a status symbol. And the value is there, meaning they justify, secondly, that in the future, in 10, 15, 100 years, that's going to be cheap.
Right. Yeah, that's totally what he's banking on. Absolutely. Great way to end the segment. What an exciting time to be in the hobby. And this is why our podcast still exists, because it's always changing and there's always something to talk about. All right, let's move on to our next segment. It's over under. All right, so since we're talking about super high-end cards and all this value going up and up, and whenever correct, we'll see. But Today's over under number is 100,000. All right, we're speaking six figures, and all of these sales that I'm going to mention to you right now have happened in the last month. Wow. Okay, so got 4 cards, and you tell me if it's over under 100,000. First one, the 2018 Bowman Chrome Blue Refractor, numbered to 150, rookie autograph card, batting stance of, you know who I'm talking about, Shohei Ohtani, graded a PSA 9, mint condition.
Wow, PSA 9, that's crazy.
Over under 6 figures, 100K.
I haven't followed like Ohtani's high end prices like lately. I don't see it over 100K. Like if it was a PSA 10, I get it. Yeah. I would value. I don't know. I would value it at, if somebody paid 100 grand for a PSA 10, I'd be like, yeah, kind of makes sense. PSA 9 sounds a little excessive to me, so I'm gonna say it's under.
It's under 90,000 though, not by much. 90,000. It's getting.
I would say like max 75K card. Like I get it, but that's the thing.
I don't see it going down though. I don't see it going down to 75.
And that's what we're saying. What we're seeing is an actual correction. It's not that the price is going up. It's the price was so low based on what Ohtani's been doing, and now did he do enough to solidify it? So
as a new base, yeah. All right. Okay, next one. We talked about Pokemon already. 1999 Pokemon base set, first edition, Blastoise Hollow. Okay, so one of the key characters, Blastoise, and this was pulled during that Logan Paul break. When the Pikachu Illustrator was being auctioned off, they were also breaking the first edition boxes. So they actually pulled it out of that same night, and it was already graded a PSA 10.
Already
over under, yeah. I don't know how they got it graded so quick. Yeah.
Well, they probably paid the $50,000 upcharge.
So over or under 100,000.
Man, I'm a big guy on marketing eyes. I think marketing actually works, and like I said, if it was just a private collector that did it, and you know what I mean. But I'm gonna say it's over because there's so many eyes on it. Some guy paid over 100K.
Logan Paul, love him or hate him, he's a great marketer. And you're right, $138,880.
Crazy.
Yeah. I would have waited for a regular auction price instead of going on the heels of the
Logan Paul premium.
Yeah, exactly. All right, 2 more. The 2023-24 Panini Prism Deca Black Prism, which is a 1 of 1 of Luka Doncic. And the grade is PSA 9, mint condition.
2023?
Yes, it's non-rookie year, but it is a Black Prism 1 of 1 for Luka Doncic's PSA 9.
What am I missing here, Clark? This is like a trick question. Why is this card in there?
So you're saying it's obviously under?
It has to be under, but that's what I'm saying. It's only on here because it's over. Which is, I don't say, I gotta say under. It's under. There's no way. No way.
You think I'm playing reverse psychology? You're right. Under, but it's 91,500.
Do you have a picture of this card? Like, what's so special about this card?
It's a Black Prism 1 of 1.
Doesn't matter. It's not even like why specifically.
It's Luka Doncic.
Is it LA Lakers uniform?
It is a. No, it's got to be Dallas still, right? It is a Dallas Mavericks uniform.
So what's why this card? Like, what would you value his second year Topps Chrome, or sorry, it's Prism Black? You know 2019.
Yeah. I don't know, but you know what's funny? That's exactly what you're asking. Are the comments the same comments that I'm seeing? It's like, am I missing something here? But someone paid $91,500.
Stupid.
For this 2023 Prism Deca. Maybe they thought it was the rookie, and they made a mistake.
And here's the other side to this, guys. It's not all. Hey, and you know what? If Luka ends up being Luka, maybe one day, but there's another side to all these $15, $20, $30 million sales that we're talking about. There's also a downside. It doesn't mean you're always going to win. And in this case, I don't think that card is worth nearly even close to that. And that's the thing. I think I'd rather have the 2019, like second year, I could see that as okay, 91,000. Okay, I could see that because we're saying is the 2018 black $1 million card, right? So I could see kind of that. 2023, that image sucks. Like again, who gets the approval on these images? Like that is insane. Under.
Hey, it looks like he's driving down the lane, but he's dribbling.
Terrible. You know that's a terrible image.
It's a terrible image. It's not worth 91,000. I agree with you. All right.
Close.
It is close to the 100K mark. Okay, last one. Back to Ohtani. I actually bought a lot of these. Not a lot. I bought 10 of these Topps Now cards, the 2025 Topps Now, to try to get that one-of-one hit of the game for the ages. I don't know if you remember it. 3 home run night, 10 strikeout Ohtani night. The Topps Now made a card of it, and we're all chasing that one-of-one. BGS 9.
Auto?
I believe it was. Let me just double check because that will...
Has to be auto.
Has to be, right?
Has to be.
But then we just made fun of this Deca Black Prism being so close to 100. You know what? It's non-auto. It's just a one-of-one Topps Chrome Superfractor. Yeah, Superfractor.
Good Lord.
Non-auto BGS 9.
See, I could justify this over the Luca.
Even for non-auto. I guess they're both non-autos.
I don't think it's worth that much, but like I would be more comfortable if I got that card over the Luca, I wouldn't be as worried, but it's still overpriced. I got to say it's under. It's a non-auto. Doesn't make any sense. Under.
You almost did the sweep. It sold for $104,920. Wow. We're in a crazy time in the hobby.
Hey, sometimes they say you got to overpay, and it's an underpaid price in the future's eyes. So, hey, maybe they're seeing something I don't see, but...
Yep. Okay, let's finish our show with our regular weekly segment we call Pick One. And I'm going to start off because we already mentioned these two cards, and I feel like this is going to be a quick one. But the 2 Ohtanis I just mentioned in our over-under segment. Which one would you rather have? The $90,000 Blue Refractor Rookie Auto Batting Stance PSA 9, or the one-of-one 2025 Topps Now?
This is easy. You don't even have to mention this. It's insanity. I cannot justify the non-auto at 100K in the first place. I could justify the blue auto at 100K any day. I see it. I think it's still going to go up if Ohtani does Ohtani things. And it's all relative to, obviously, Ohtani. I don't think he's going to stop anytime soon. But the blue refractor auto is the only answer here at this point. Like, I would only see me purchasing that the one-of-one superfractor if I had every single Ohtani that I wanted in my collection, and I was bored, and I'm like, I'm the most diehard Ohtani collector, and I'm fighting for the best Ohtani collection there is on the face of this planet. I get it.
Only then. Right.
I say, oh, okay, makes sense. This guy has every single Ohtani, so that's why. But yeah, it's a no-brainer. Blue auto.
Yeah, I just said this to make a point. 100% agree with you. And I would love to talk to the person who bought that 104,000 Topps Now. Maybe he is. Maybe he's like, you know what? Yeah, I do. I already got the blue refractor, okay?
In the PSA 10. Come on. That's such a... like.
Then you know what? For that guy, makes total sense. Good for you.
Yeah. And that's why it's all perspective, because
right.
Like, you know what? I sometimes like what I feel is like, okay, this is super valuable. I don't care what anybody thinks. It's a very meaningful card. I want this card, and I will overpay for it. And it's going to stay in my PC. So, and that's the thing. $90,000 is a lot of money, but maybe it's not. That's the whole point. To somebody, it's not. And
exactly right.
It's like for us buying a $900 card, and saying, you know what? I love it. I just love it. It's like Will buying like a Kaboom that's unlicensed. And it's like, But he did
Yeah.
really well. That's the thing
Mm-hmm.
on the kabooms.
Oh man, that's hilarious. I'm gonna put a poll out there. I think this is gonna be lopsided, just to prove a point that right now, for regular collectors like you and me, the choice is obvious, but this should be a lopsided answer. And speaking of polls, we just did one for the one that you were ranting about the last two podcast episodes. You're right, man. More people care that the jersey number doesn't match the regular number of that player. So it was a 50,
And
like
now,
57 to 40%. Yeah.
Clark, you're going to jump the bandwagon now. Now that it's planted in your mind, you're going to be like, wait a minute. This rookie card looks like his minor league card. It's not his rookie card.
No. One person said, this makes it more unique, so I want it more. I'm just saying there's a different perspective out there, okay? I'm like, I can see that point as well. All right, what's your pick one to finish off the show?
My pick one is, we're going, let's deflate back to reality where, even back then, like $500 was a lot of money. I still remember our conversations. Remember, we were starting. It's like $500 on eBay. Aw, are you serious? You're insane.
The good old days. Yeah,
the good old days. So I'm sticking with the $500 budget. And recently, in the last few days, I'm big on Francisco Lindor. I think he's one of the underrated, kind of like Mookie Betts, I would say, but even more underrated. I think he still has a good 5-6 years, and he's a future Hall of Famer. No doubt in my mind. He's an 80-plus WAR type when it's all said and done. And to be a middle infielder and be in that category is absolutely elite, top-tier Hall of Fame. But his Bowman Chrome auto, PSA 9, last sold for $357. Wow. And then his a BGS 9.5 with an auto 9 sold for $450. So this was in the last couple days. So I'm thinking a PSA 9 to a BGS 9.5 is under $500. Would you rather buy that or a 2018 Topps Heritage Chrome Refractor PSA 10? So number 2, whatever, 573 or whatever. Yeah. Juan Soto sold for $475.
2018?
2018. His rookie refractor Chrome Heritage. I mean, solid card. We said this before. I said this early when Ohtani's cards were going up. That this is a deal, and I think at the time it was like $500 to $600 raw. If you look at Heritage refractor Ohtani price is insane. Yeah. So that's why I just threw it out there.
I agree with you about Lindor just being a future Hall of Famer. Actually, I just read a news article where someone asked Bo Bichette, his new teammate for the Mets, like how's he feel to move over to third base? And you know what Bichette said? He's like, oh, it's easy when you have a guy named Lindor playing shortstop. You just give him the respect, and he's a future Hall of Famer, and so it's like, yeah, easy move, right? So, everyone respects him in the game. Hardcore hobbyists, kind of like you said, Mookie Betts, but still no hobby love. And I think Juan Soto does get the hobby love, and I like that it's numbered. I have a personal bias. I love the Topps Chrome Heritage look, and I think it's one of those like underrated cards too. So that combined with Juan Soto, the player, easy choice for me. I'm going Juan Soto.
Really, an easy choice, huh?
Easy. And what the base rookie? It's not numbered, right? You're talking about just the base auto.
The base auto, yeah. And I'm just saying, any colored Lindor is so tough to even come across because I think all Lindor holders agree that they would never sell their colored Lindor for today's prices or whatever comps are because it's just not worth it, right? Because it's like, why am I selling this when I know that compared to all these Hall of Famers that his prices are low? So I think it's a waiting period, but we don't know when that is either, right? And I think that's your point that you're making. The value is definitely justifiable, but it might be $500 next year and the year after that and the year after that. But the Juan Soto could potentially move up. Or will we see price correction even on the Lindor where maybe it's, a couple of grand.
It goes up, you think? Oh, wow. Okay.
I don't know. To me, it's like, we don't know in this marketplace, but that's my whole point. What I'm seeing from the high-end marketplace is all price correction. So what institutional value thinks that it's true value and it's cheap, that's what's happening. So my whole thing is it follows suit eventually. And that's with everybody. We always say, oh, we're not going to buy it. And then until it moves, we're like, oh, I should have bought it.
Yeah.
I think it's one of those. So I'm going Lindor. And it would be more of a long-term cycle because I get it. If it was, I'm done with the short-term cycles, I think. Like I think I am. Like like for me, I enjoy both. I love making a profit, but the focus stops. I feel like, and then the focus gets too driven on, oh, I want to make this flip or I want to sell it at this price instead of just focusing on long term. You know what? I knew this was a good buy 2 years ago, and all that flipping I could have done to have cash, but I still have the value within the cards that I truly believe in. So for me, it's long-term cycles that I'm starting to like really say I enjoy the collecting more that way. Yeah. And that's part of the reason why, like, I know the no-name Otani that I keep on bringing up is like, that would be an example. It's like, you know what? Like for $250, I keep this in my collection. It's so rare that people aren't even going to see this in anybody's collection. So why not build up that collection? So in that sense, I'm starting to cater my 1v1s towards that too, where it's like, I would normally pick Soto, just like you. Yeah. But I'm starting to move onto that line of thinking more. So I'm going to pick the Lindor.
Dude, I totally get it. And I think, you know what? I think it's because you and I are both busy. So like, the flip life is a grind. Like it's fun, but it's a grind. You know what I mean? It's like you got to monitor prices.
Exactly right. If I was bored, it had nothing to do, I would be on cards 24/7, like just saying I'm the king flipper. Like that's what I would do.
Yeah, like during COVID times, it was awesome. What else are we gonna do? Look for cards to flip, and it was easy to do. Yeah, so I think I get you. I like doing more long-term flips too because I'm just so busy. Buy one I love, hold it, look at it every day, and then when the right price comes along, flip it then. But yeah. Short-term flips are still fun, though. I like to do both.
If it's there.
Whenever I can. If it's there. All right. Thanks, guys, for tuning in to another episode of Cards to the Moon. We appreciate you guys. And if you haven't given us 5 stars, if you enjoyed this episode, we would definitely appreciate that as well. We'll have a brand new episode for you next week. Talk to you then. Bye. Hey, thanks for listening to Cards to the Moon. We'd really appreciate you subscribing to our podcast wherever you listen to your podcasts. And you can also connect with each of us on Instagram at 5cardguys, or you can follow Hyung at Integrity Sports Cards, or John at TradeU at Recess. You can also check us out at 5cardguys.com. Thanks again, and hope to connect soon.